Hi, Debbie. Hey, how are you doing?
Great. How are you?
We're great.
Good.
Yeah, I realize I owe you an answer to the size of the base of that thing, and I haven't. So,
I have it actually. Thank you,
okay.
though.
Yeah, I was just looking back through emails and realized I was a bad council member.
Oh, terrible. No, it was actually worked out okay because the Parks and Rec team who transported them for us, super nice guys.
Yeah,
but
they
they
are.
took pictures and gave me the dimensions and all that good stuff. So we're in the money.
Okay.
But you know, at some point, the horses are still at AMPA, but at some point, we'll round up the one from your house and put them all together in the storage.
Sure.
And so we can have probably somebody from the city. I don't know who has cars big enough to transport those. I don't.
That's how it ended up with me. Dana, who's no longer on the council with us, had a truck.
Oh.
So, I can look. We just picked up a Jeep. It might fit in that thing. I'd have to look. I'll have to measure.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's not in the way or anything, so it's not a big deal where it is. But yeah, it'd probably be good to get them all back together.
Okay, yeah, and we probably want it out of your hair too, I imagine.
Sure, it's in the garage.
I don't know. My garage, I have like limited space in mine, so I'm always like, what can I dump?
I have a huge garage, but I don't use it as a garage. So, so it's got a lot of storage in it. So
yeah.
Hi, Lily Beth. How's the baby?
He's good. I was just talking to him. He's eating his dinner right there.
Ooh, what's for dinner?
He's got some pulled Indian spiced chicken and broccoli and a little bit of buttered toast.
That is a
Lisa, my girlfriend's actually making a curry right now. It smells great.
There you go. Yeah, it was just like one of those jar simmer sauces.
Those are nice. They have those now.
Mm-hmm. He eats pretty good.
I imagine he does. Sorry I missed the last one. The 6th was kind of a busy day for people who worked in television. So.
Oh yeah, well, it was kind of a busy day for everyone, but I can imagine that you had your hands full.
It ended up being a 24-hour day, so yeah.
Well, our meeting was pretty short, but it was a good respite from the rest of the chaos that was ensuing.
Oh shit. No. Attack of the cat, yeah. She's insistent is the easiest way to describe that one.
Right. Thing here.
Mark, what is your background?
That's some graffiti from down in Rhino.
Rhino?
Yeah, right behind Denver Market there. So I had a photo shoot down there a couple of weeks back and
nice.
Snapped that one, and it's stuck. It's a good background for these kind of things. So.
Yeah. Lots of color.
Yeah. No, I love some of the stuff they did down there. It's unfortunate. I don't know if anybody else has followed what happened with the whole graffiti festival that they do out there and everything like that. It's kind of fallen apart, actually. There's some unfortunate allegations of people behaving inappropriately towards artists, and yeah, it really did from what I saw, wasn't positive.
Bummer.
Yeah, people are horrible sometimes.
So are they not going to do it next year?
At this point, it's on hold.
Oh.
They couldn't do it really last year because of COVID, obviously, and then all of this came out with the guy who kind of organized and founded that whole thing, and then the foundation that he formed, and he wasn't even a part of that anymore. They were saying we can't go forward at this point because of all of this. So,
Wow.
yeah. So fortunately, we don't have that kind of drama.
Yeah.
What an opportunity, though, for another community that wants to do something very similar.
Yeah, I definitely think that there will be a void there, especially on the artist side. The only thing about that is I know that some of those endowments that they have for some of the pieces that they put on are, $10,000 type endowments. So,
Sure.
I think that would probably be the bigger obstacle is financial commitment.
Like we're about a minute away, or no? All right. Let's see. Mark. Has anybody heard from Martin? No. Okay.
Hey, Britt.
Hi.
Hey, Julie.
Hello.
All right, should we go ahead and call this to order at 5:45?
Let me share screen.
Oh, thank you.
All right, roll call. Chair Reese Adams,
Present.
Vice Chair Leah Beth Cole,
Present.
Clarice Ambler,
Present.
David Carroll,
Here?
Mark Hessling,
Present?
and I just saw some, okay. Julie Parker,
Present.
we have Council Member Cheryl Wink,
Present.
Tim Vaca,
Present.
and let me just check. Guest, we have Britt Fuchs. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Staff, we have Director Christina Underhill,
Present.
Library and Cultural Arts Manager Mark Mullis,
Present.
and Event Supervisor Tony Arnold. Let me see if we. All right, I think I got everyone. Is that correct?
Good.
All right.
Awesome. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review the minutes from last week. It was a pretty short or last month, but it was a pretty short meeting. There we go. I don't know, sorry guys, my computer is just being special tonight. Oh yeah, we talked about the budget, some initiatives. Martin went through the conservation, Swedish horses. If there's any comments or questions, if not,
I would make a motion to approve.
yep, thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Who was the second? Was that Leah Beth?
No, it was me, Clarice.
Thanks, Clarice.
Great. Okay. Shall we move on to public comment? Britt. So Debbie sent out a little while ago. Oh, David.
I think you need to ask for a vote for,
Oh yeah, I always forget the vote.
that's okay.
All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can move on to the recognition of public comment. Debbie sent out a little PowerPoint presentation this afternoon. Britt, I'll let you take it from here. We have about 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for having me. And I also wanted to say thank you to the CAC for the support of our first phase mural project that was installed in November of 2020 in the Little Dry Creek Trail corridor, right there under Santa Fe. And that has led to phase 2 we have rallied around a youth mural project that has been supported and approved through the Englewood School District. And I've been in conversation with the Parks Department as well. And just in favor of this connection point, and also with COVID, it makes a ton of sense to kind of emphasize the opportunity that we have around beautification and the safety initiative. So it's just super timely to invite the art teachers of Englewood, middle school and high school art teachers, to collaborate with their students on a design, and to have the guidance and expertise of Amanda to help have that whole process be very streamlined and a real nice continuity there. So it will lend from her work to, if you were able to glance at the proposal, you would see that there will be 4 canvases on that south wall in that corridor. One would be Amanda's that would then lend to the mural of the middle school and high school for the next 3 canvases. So that's kind of an overview. We've met with the art teachers 3 times, and the teachers have sent out a survey to the students to see kind of what comes to mind when they think of beautification, or more specifically around just what that looks like in terms of long lasting and sustainability. You know, what comes to mind for people in the younger generations, like, hey, what matters to the youth and connecting to the trail. So we're trying to find some lead questions in terms of the design. And I want to hear your questions based on kind of what you saw with the presentation that we sent out. And really, you know, just my hope is to see how this works in terms of support through the Cultural Arts Commission, and how that then really reflects on inviting the community into that corridor to rally around supporting youth, and like drawing attention to, you know, the potential that we have to connect with nature. So I hope that's not too much. I really am excited to hear your questions, and we'll massage this. I would tell you that we have had a generous donation through the Museum of Outdoor Arts for the entire amount. So we're not actually coming to the CAC for request for financial support, but rather really just this community aspect of like, okay, this makes sense, you know, drawing attention and really leading with what works. And that is art brings people together, you know? And so I'm going to set that aside and listen to your questions. Hopefully that was enough to give you kind of a snapshot of our initiative and what we're trying to achieve there. But I'm happy to clarify further for you.
Great, thank you. Okay, I guess we can move to some questions. Clarice, go ahead.
Did you mention, or is it in the presentation? I just missed it. What school are you working with?
So all the Englewood high schools and middle school.
Okay.
So Englewood exclusively on that term, but it's an inclusive project that really, it's like we're working with all Englewood middle school and high schools.
Okay.
I don't know this answer, but it looks like from the project that Amanda's not on, right? Or no?
No, I didn't invite her on this call. I'm certainly happy to, you know, pull her in on the next call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to just get her take on it. And of course, we'll need to look at design ideas, but could you just briefly explain kind of like your role in this, connecting all the various parties?
Sure. Thanks for asking. That's really it. It's like I have a passion for connecting things and people. It's been my hobby almost for the last, I'd say 5 years, or maybe my lifetime, I'm not sure. But certainly in terms of Englewood, it's really made sense. I asked these questions. I'm like, wow, what's going on here with the South Platte River? And what's going on here with this under the radar area? Oh my gosh, there's potential, and noticing that there are some safety concerns. Somebody did get harmed in the summertime down at the Platte, and that tunnel isn't super safe and it isn't very beautiful, but we have a lot of people working in that area. So as a citizen, I've been asking questions. I started showing up at council here and there, kind of hovering a bit to try and get the sense of what direction the city's going in. And it's obvious we're all planning, every single city is planning for the future. So how do we prepare for the future? And I'll curb this because I could go on, but it's exciting to think about, like, okay, where are the neglected areas and how can we bring enhancement to those areas and safety and beauty? And then it ties into what's going on in the Platte, as well as potential initiatives that happen along the way, years to come.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I'm just gonna throw this out there in general for the group, but what is CAC's responsibility from a conservatorship, like for long-term? If we're not the ones commissioning the mural, are we still responsible for conserving it, or how does that work?
So as far as I understand, the connection being with the Parks and Rec, having that understanding that the Cultural Arts Commission will help to maintain the murals. First off, I would say that we use a certain layer of protection that coats the murals, so that if in the event there's any damage, it can be easily cleaned off. And then in terms of the plan for future, I think that enhancement and so on, I think that's a line item that we, that's something that a box that needs to be checked to make sure there aren't any assumptions. So 5, 10, 15 years from now, what is the plan for these pieces? I think that can be written into the agreement.
Yeah, and how big, how big the vision ends up being, where are we looking at a small part of the wall, or is this going to be a half a mile stretch that's going to be required to be conserved by CAC long term? I think.
And I think that when, yes, excellent question. And to that point, I think that's the email that I sent to Dave Carroll and he forwarded to you, is that kind of that call to vision. After this, it's like, well, how do we team up and partner on the vision moving forward? And what does that entail? Because the Parks and Rec Parks Department is covering up any unwanted graffiti, and they've been maintaining that like clockwork. So it's like, well, what is that? What is the potential, and what would the steps be?
Yeah, David, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wanting to maybe clarify. It sounds as if the project has been approved by Parks and Rec and the money has been put up by MOA. So the project's a go. And it sounds like the project's a go regardless of us. But what I'm hearing is that then the 1% for the arts fund would be needed to conserve it. And that's maybe Christina or Mark, is that how you guys see that working out?
That's how I would see it working out. However, there might be an age put on this piece. We may say the mural's good for 5 years, and in that 5 years, we don't have to do any conservation. And then in 5 years, a new school group comes out and paints a new mural as part of this conservation effort of the river system. So I think there's opportunities to earmark this either as this mural will stay for all of time and we have to continue to keep it up, or because it is an educational type project, And we have plenty of walls around our city and other places we can continue to do projects such as this. But I think ultimately this is a perfect location for school groups to come out and learn about the trails and the rivers and the conservation efforts that go along with those projects. And that's kind of how I envision it. But Britt, let me know if you see it a little differently or if we're kind of on track with what we're talking about.
I think that's absolutely spot on. And that would lend then to the next conversation of future visioning in terms of what programs we could support and promote with this mural concept and project. And I'll just say in terms of sustainability, I think I'm going to kind of hit pause on that because I don't want to get ahead of myself on this conversation unless you want to go into that right now. Because I certainly have loads of ideas for phase 3 and phase 4, which would lend to fall 21, spring 22. So
Leah,
yeah.
Sorry. Would, within our conservation role, would the graffiti removal be a part of that, or would that still be a Parks and Rec responsibility? You're
you're
muted.
on mute.
That would be great, Christina or Mark.
Christina,
not-
you're on mute.
Yeah, I am. I
Okay.
unmuted and then started talking. Okay. No, we would continue from the park side to, work on the graffiti. What was interesting is when the new mural went up, we literally got graffitied within that week, I think it was. And the parks guys, before we even made it out there to look at it, had already taken it down. So anytime we get reports, park staff would continue to do that. The challenge comes when the mural itself gets graffitied. Then we usually try to reach out to the artist because we don't want to apply any chemicals that may remove that protective coating. Although I do have to say we had a little graffiti on the new mural and it came right off really easy. So that protective coating does work.
Good to know.
Just to follow up on mine, so sounds like the conservation are. I guess I'm a little confused of what we're asking of us.
Right.
It sounds as if you're all of this has been approved. Maybe you're just letting the commission know that this is going to move forward. But is it possible that you're asking to be part of the negotiation in the contract, or is that still Parks and Recs? I guess maybe that could be clarified. What is it that you're asking of the commission?
Initially, there was a question on funding and partnership in that fashion. I still think it'd be amazing to have, I see the kind of the interplay between Parks and CAC, like hand in glove, kind of it takes both left and right hand on that one. So to answer your question, David, the idea of a support in I would say in partnership as well as envisioning, so that there's that continuity between the vision of what's happening with the artwork in the city. And I think it's just, it makes sense to let you know what's happening. Like, I don't know that there's another ask outside of, okay, awareness and partnership. If there was a question in funding for like phase 3 or 4, or further ideas, then I would also want to connect with CAC that way as well. Does that answer your question, David?
And I'll jump in real quick too. So
Yeah.
we are finding we have artists and individuals that maybe want to do a mural or something of that nature, and they're reaching out to various levels of city staff. And nobody really wants to approve art, and it comes back to the CAC because you are the experts in it. Some of the art may end up being maintained by 1% for the arts. And so ultimately going forward, anytime we get any sort of proposal that's art related, we'd like to just bring it to the CAC so you all can see it, make sure there's no major opposition against doing something, and then we can move forward. So even working with the schools, I kind of envision the summer prior to the mural going up, or the spring, that the school group may come, whoever the artists are, and present to you all to get that experience under their belt and hear your feedback on their proposal for the arts. And that way there's continuity between the original proposal of an artist coming in all the way through you all seeing it and saying, yes, we love it, let's move forward, or no, it doesn't really fit in the vision of the CAC. So that's why Britt's here today, is because yes, she did get funding, which is amazing. She's got the schools lined up, which is a great thing too, through COVID, to get that accomplished, and it's moving forward. So not every project may be like this. We may have artists that come to you and say, I have a great idea, but I don't have any money. Can you help fund this? You may love it, you may hate it. We'll decide moving forward then.
Kind of within that vein, do we have an idea of how the selection process for the art is going to go about? Because I read the proposal, and essentially the designs are going to be submitted by the groups of students, which is fantastic. But what's kind of going to be the vetting process for that?
So for this second phase, youth mural, we're hoping that the teachers can work with the students to create the sketch, the design, so that they can present it to you in April, in your April meeting. And that way then, that, like Christina was saying, that process, it can be a clear vision and everyone can be on board. And then the same type of thing could happen then for what I'm calling phase 3 or phase 4, blending to, okay, community interest. Because there's some enthusiasm and excitement around, okay, wow, professional graffiti artists, are ready to roll on such a canvas. And I'm like, okay, excellent point, Christina. It would be wonderful to have a link online under the CAC that says interested in submitting a proposal for a graffiti artwork, click here. And then that could be a go-to for all departments in the city to know where to point people. That would be ideal.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to make sure I saw Leah Beth, your hand was up.
Yeah, so I kind of to play into what Clarice was saying, I think that if there is a piece of art, especially a mural, that we are going to conserve, we should definitely be involved in the choice and design process. We're not even in charge of conserving the Zomo mural, and we were involved in that design process. So I think that definitely planning for them to come back in April, showing us artwork, and knowing that there might be adjustments, we might pick one art over another, and that I personally think that we should have a say in it, especially if we are going to kind of be managing it in a sense, and that MOA would obviously have equal say, if not more, because they're funding it as well. So just my thoughts.
Oh yeah, Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that leads to other bigger questions about how we, because I'm doing the arts maintenance, about how we deal with our art. I mean, how long, how do we expect the murals to be maintained? What happens when they, what quality they have to remain? What if they deteriorate? What is the, all of those things. We had been working on a deaccession plan for if we were getting, all that stuff would have to be in there. And I suppose that we should have some kind of formalized process for people submitting art to the city anyway. Just yes. Like, I think that shows us like there's a lot of infrastructure. I don't know if that's the word. Stuff that we need to organize and build so that we have these systems in place so that it stays consistent and doesn't shift from commission to commission, when our leadership
I agree.
changes. So,
yeah, I agree too. I think this brings up highlights that pretty clearly.
And I agree. I mean, if we have to maintain it, we should have a say in what goes up.
Tim had his hand up, Reese.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tim.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna point back to Christina's point. And we're looking at this as such a great opportunity for students to get an education on the public art process and really understand what it takes to implement art in public places, and that is working with the Cultural Arts Commission, obviously, and other stakeholders in the city. So for us, it's like a perfect fit into our design and build program, which is all about that. So as far as selection process, I think to Leah Beth's point, she's correct in that I think you absolutely should have a say in that because it is on city property and you guys do, should manage the aesthetics of that. I would caution that, these are like high school and middle school students, so not to be too harsh on them, but appreciate what they can deliver. And if there's if there's something that's like absolutely heinous and you just can't see it, of course you can address that, but just understand like the level of artistry there.
I don't think I would ever cut anyone down for professional level of artistry. I think more offensiveness, but I'm sure the teachers would, filter through the things before they saw them too. So
exactly,
yes.
yeah.
David?
Well, and that is, if I could say, that actually is the protocol or the plan, is that the teachers and the students will design and then work with Amanda on that kind of level of professionalism. So she's actually teaching the kids kind of how to make it so that it flows and that it pops. So she'll be actually like helping to finish the work. And I think that's another reason why it's so wonderful to have her in that guidance role, so that it actually looks professional and they'll learn how to have that finished work. So it'll be a package. Yeah.
So one of the things that I don't know, Christina, how you might go about this if you're taking those requests and approving them. But one of the things that we tried to do was set some guidelines when it related to the crosswalks and the boxes, and that's already paid dividends in that we had this last week it got reached out. There was someone that reached out from Public Works about a crosswalk that a company wanted to do in our city. We sent them to the guidelines, and they were I think a little disappointed because they wanted to do a big logo across the street, and we had that in the guidelines. It said that's not something that can be done. But what I see missing here is no guidelines to where the city's guidelines, or if they want for works like this, and what that may look like, and what would be at least to set the stage for that. So that's my final comment.
Thank you. I think we could probably wrap this unless there's anything lingering.
Tim and Brett have their hands up.
Yeah.
Reese, could I address?
Oh, sorry.
May I address that last point David made? Is so there actually are some guidelines, and maybe you guys don't know about this, but it's in the Inglewood Municipal Code, and it's in 16-11-2-B.
That's impressive.
Thank you, Tim,
well,
for
I've been
saying
around
that.
a while, and so it's not a lot of information, but it addresses works of art and murals specifically, and so that guidance is there. Whether or not that needs to be amended or not, I'm not sure. That's up to you guys, but just so you know that does exist.
Yeah, that's come up before with people like the Spaceman mural that had text on it, and we're not responsible for enforcing that stuff. Is that correct? Okay, that's what I was wondering.
If we were approving the artwork, we would be responsible for at least following those guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would just leave by saying that our focus being on sustainability, really, it feels like it's really moving more towards nature, just because that's the connection point to the plat. So I guess in terms of guidelines and design, that's what the kids are kind of following as a lead, just to reiterate that. And thank you so much for your time and your interest. And this was an excellent conversation. And should you have any questions, feel free to email me directly. I have the Kristen Britt CO @gmail, and certainly welcome to call me. It's just a pleasure to be in conversation with you. And this will be really special as a result of having everyone involved like this. So
Yeah, thank you so much, Britt. I mean,
Yeah.
love
Looking
that
forward to it.
idea, and thank you for being so enthusiastic and getting involved like that, just jumping in. That's a wonderful thing.
My pleasure. Thanks. Alrighty, have a good night. Thanks, take care.
Okay, I think that was it for public comment tonight. All right, let's move on to new business. We had a couple of brief conversations, gosh, I don't even know time now, last week maybe, in using, there's, the cultural arts Gmail that several of us have access to, and monitor. Not a lot comes through there, but you can kind of keep an eye on it. Versus, we didn't know this was an option until last week, but Debbie said that we could also have a city email option that would be monitored presumably by, I think, Debbie, you or somebody else within the city. And I don't know if there's a preference from the city. I know our artists know the Gmail account, and I think that's what's on the Cultural Arts website through the city. I remember looking at it quickly this afternoon. But I don't know if that's still okay, or if the communication needs to be elsewhere, or maybe we just need to give somebody with the city access to the Gmail if they don't have it. Any direction there? Preference?
Reese, if I can add to, I talked to IT and they said to also make you aware that if you do have an email account through the city, then you are open to the open records request.
Okay.
So, that's something to consider there.
So do we feel comfortable continuing with the Gmail? Does anybody feel like we need to go a different route? No?
I personally think we should just stick to the Gmail. I'm happy to, provide Debbie just for record to give you the login for it, just in case there's any sort of quick switch over all of a sudden.
Okay.
Not to say that we wouldn't all be accessible. I'm not seeing it on the cultural arts page. Would that be something that we could post, Debbie, or would we have to have a city address to do that?
Definitely. I had thought of that too, that it probably would be helpful to have that there.
Yeah.
I think this came up in the context of the Swedish horses.
Yeah.
As people were reaching out with various questions. And, I know I've been fielding a lot of those questions. The emails have been coming to me, and I certainly don't mind providing support for something like that. And, as I've run into things that I didn't know how to address, I've been, forwarding those to Reese. But yeah, no, I think the idea there, the reason the conversation got rolling was just to make sure the city was providing support. So when, when there were official communication, or when people were reaching out with questions, that there was a relatively official place to send those questions. And I think the Gmail in conjunction with the individual emails of city staff made sense to me, but it's your decision.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I think not to put anything on you, Merck, but it should kind of filter through you. I feel like you guys have way more answers than we do. And then anything else gets, passed along our way.
Yeah, happy to play that role for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. And Mark, have you had a lot of more inquiries come through out of curiosity?
Let's see, a couple a day. So, pretty steady. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the budget. David, I don't know if you have anything to show on your screen. I think we just wanted to quickly run through kind of some of the spend so far that were anticipated, especially after Swedish horse gets paid.
Sure. Debbie, is it possible that you could allow me to share my screen? There we go. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
So I think just at the last meeting, there was some questions over what we had anticipated at one point. This is just what I think in November we talked a little bit about this, and this is the best of the notes that I came up with. Is that big enough? Can everybody see that? So the 85,680 is the ending fund balance at the beginning of 2021 was the number that Debbie and Christina provided for us for the 2021 fund allocation. Out of that, I believe, and so I'll be correct if I'm wrong, is that we chose to set aside or to budget $7,000 for an idea of a artistic traffic box crosswalks with the Inglewood schools of some sort, that we would have traffic boxes near the schools and the schools would design those. Per the guidelines of 25%, that equals, and I think we talked about that, Martin, at the last meeting, that provides 1,420 for conservation for this year. I think this was through both Mark and Christina talking about the Mushroom Park project, and that this was just a number that I went back and watched the video that we ended up throwing out there for that project at 8,000. That obviously could be amended, but just as a placeholder. We talked a little bit about event support or project support, people coming to us and providing that. We set aside 10,000 for that. We talked about continuing the pop-up concerts possibly this year. That has always been about a $3,000 line item on the budget. And then there was the possibility of having the Inglewood Block Party chalk artists. That was 1,000. And then the Swedish Horse project, I believe, was at 35,000. Does that sound right, Reese?
Yep.
And out of that, there was I don't know if that's been paid yet, but an invoice that Reese had shared that was $8,630. That would be part of that project that has already been, I think, part of it's maybe in the works. I don't know if it's actually the money's been exchanged. So that's what that would look like. If all of those projects were completed, we would end up with $260 in the remaining part of the fund. Remember that if this continues, we would get an appropriation next year, 1% for the arts, that could be between 10 to 15,000, depending on years past. And then I don't know if anybody can speak to this, if this still exists, but in years past, there was about a $1,500 balance for, I'd call it administrative expenses from the Commission Arts Commission budget. And I believe at the meeting past, Martin suggested that his time as well, when he went to one of the CPI summits, was well spent, and that we should maybe, if we could, continue to place that in our administrative. So that's where the 2 tickets for a conference, Leah Beth and I believe, went to the placemaking. It was Martin and Jay that went to Saving Places, and there's other conferences out there.
Great.
So I believe that's where we ended up, if everybody's in agreement with that.
Yeah.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, that looks
And then
good.
we just have to, either expend those or run those projects. Great.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful to kind of keep a running view of what's in the coffers.
Sure.
Is that in the drive, David?
I can put it in there. I just put it in. I just made it up today.
Yeah,
so
just
in the
put it in
morning,
there
so
whenever you have a chance, just to have the most
put it in the drive.
updated one.
Yep.
If you could delete any old ones, that would be great, but you take a look at them before you do that.
Great. So Clarice, did you have the arts plan draft? I have that here if you wanted, or if you've got it, I'll get out. I just didn't know we didn't talk about who was going to share that. So
No, I have like the Google Doc. Is that what you're referring to?
yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that you can leave that up. That's fine.
Okay. I think we're next on the agenda if nobody had any.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So a long time ago, way back in the day, there was discussion about drafting a strategic arts plan. And David and I kind of got together and just had kind of that first revolutionary meeting about bringing that back from the brink. So, long time ago, David did a couple of basically like focus groups to talk about what artists and what non-artists, just members of the community, want to see happen, basically, for in regards to cultural arts in Englewood, what they saw as opportunities that haven't been embraced yet, or potential challenges that could potentially come up in moving forward with the cultural arts. And we kind of took that information that we gathered from those meetings, which happened, I mean, at this point over a year ago now. We made a survey, which you've heard about from me, to kind of get more community feedback about people's thoughts about what cultural arts means in Englewood and what it could look like. So based on that, David and I have drafted a very bare bones, very beginning of a plan that we wanted to kind of share with y'all to get a little bit of feedback about if you think we're going in the right direction, and also get some ideas about who maybe would want to join team with us about with moving forward with this. Right, David? Okay. Thank you. So what we ended up doing was we are building this up from what we called our 5 pillars, which, as you can see here, it's education, engagement, accessibility, support, and collaboration. So those were our 5 pillars. And what we've done is identified some challenges and some opportunities, so kind of both sides of that coin, that fall under these based on those previous focus groups that we had, as well as the survey that we had designed and sent out. From that, we have established some broad goals that we're looking to start focusing down, right? So for instance, under education, we are identifying that right now, there's not a lot of awareness of exactly the opportunities in Englewood, or like the identity of Englewood as a cultural destination, or really what Englewood has to offer to the broader community in terms of cultural arts. And so what we would like to do is increase awareness somehow, really give Englewood its own cultural arts identity, and then start educating, like the next generation of artists, and really start getting that engagement early and young. And then we talked about, which all of these you'll notice feed into each other, right? Education and engagement and collaboration, these all go together, right? We talked about engagement. Something that came up in the survey a lot was that people wanted to see more events happening in Englewood. And I think a really profound example of engagement that we have right next door is with like Denver's First Fridays. Since it's such a strong representation of the arts, the diversity of arts that are available in Denver, as well as an opportunity for people to interact with those arts, and also spend money perhaps on those arts, which is also great. So, and this is actually something that was identified specifically in the survey, that people would love to see Englewood do something like this, a First Friday-esque event. And I just highlighted that this is a very common event. Like First Fridays is a thing on Wikipedia that you could like go on and look at and see all the people, what other people are doing across the United States and across the world. So there's already a lot of information and guidance on how to start something like this. And I just listed some bigger cities that have done this, and just a diversity of cities that have done this, to show that we can definitely do it, basically. So, that's a potential piece of this strategic art initiative that I think was very tangible, something that we can do. Here, David, you want to speak to the accessibility portion?
Sure. So accessibility had to do, and those are highlighted up in the top of this document, and we can share this, but accessibility had to do with the ability for studio space, the ability for to have larger venues for both performing arts. And so what we'd identified here a little bit is, we all know that, kind of market rate studio space, heck, market rate housing is at a premium even in Englewood. But that we could, there could be some partnerships, specifically what has happened most recently in Denver the Denver City County approved a library in 5 Points area that they'll partner with Redline to host affordable art studios within the new building. So again, it was just kind of an idea. That's what we were looking for your feedback is, are we moving down the right track here? There's already some studio space happening, that are available right now in Inglewood. The old Hope building, I think they're calling themselves Blue something as an arts center now, but it's that Hope building on Broadway. They have some studio space that they're trying to rent. And just as another example, there's a photography studio upstairs from Frame to Art that's available right now. So there are some of those things. And so possibly part of that is also just letting people know if there was a website or some other area. And then Inglewood, this came up often, that Inglewood doesn't have a large venue for, or a venue for large events. And so those were just some of the, working with others to advocate, maybe on behalf of the artists, we work, advocate with the city or others to try to provide some of those areas. So that was kind of the rough framework. And then in the support area, that really came to artists and creatives and others saying there isn't funding. There isn't funding for the arts. We always know that funding for the arts is a struggle. There's not a lot of workspace, but in that also what they were suggesting is there aren't a lot of stores, art supply stores, or even music supply stores in Inglewood. There are in Denver and otherwhere, but that's what came up a lot as well. So, and then, so within the funding, within some of that, maybe similar to the Denver Imagine 2020 art plan, that the CAC could consider a speaker series that addresses things like grant writing, marketing, other efforts, sponsorship funding, whatever that might be. They have a robust, if you ever go onto their website, you can see they have a very robust arts plan. The other is what people talked about was the Business Improvement District, a Downtown Development Authority, or I think what they were also really referring to in part there was an arts district. But so exploring some of these on the other side of the CEC could maybe look to the newly formed DDA, advocate a little bit on their behalf. I know that Golden's DDA provides funding for art projects within their district. They're also, the Denver Imagine 2020 art plan offers specific funding, such as the Urban Arts Fund and the Mayor's Award Fund. And kind of that's maybe what we were doing in this latest budget, providing $10,000 for events that, we don't have a formalized grant plan, but maybe that would be part of the recommendation out of this plan is those kind of funding opportunities, helping artists. And so that's kind of where we were going again under these broad that we were looking for you guys to either say yay or nay on. And then the last one I think is you, Clarice.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize I was not muted that whole time. Okay. Yeah,
you didn't say anything. You're fine.
I know I didn't do anything embarrassing, but I was like, oh. Yeah, our last one is collaboration, which flows really nicely with that support and talking about potentially grants. We also have a lot of, one of the best things about Inglewood is so much of what we have here is locally run businesses and organizations. Galleries are all, just like family owned local things. So we do have some pretty well-known places and spaces that offer opportunities for collaboration. But then we also have our local businesses like Zomo, which are often ripe for collaboration with our creatives. So that one with collaboration, we're still fleshing this out, obviously, but just how do we connect people to each other so that they can establish mutually beneficial relationships and like mutually beneficial spaces to enhance our cultural art presence here. So like I said, this is just kind of the very, oh, go ahead, David. You just unmuted yourself.
Oh, no, you were just, I was just going to add, I mean, Clarice did, I think, a wonderful job. We were talking this through, and she was the brains behind kind of creating these themes, which I thought was really wonderful, and kind of helped us kind of frame the rest of the project within that. So.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so like David and I were saying, really the reason that we are sort of presenting this to y'all right now is for feedback, to start generating also ideas and some excitement amongst our group, and see who's interested in kind of joining us and taking some of these ideas and moving forward with actually drafting our plan. So I think at this time, unless David has anything else he wants to say, I'll open the floor up to y'all for questions, feedback, comments, concerns, critiques, all of the above.
So I know you guys said this is a rough draft, but I think this is really thoughtful, really good content. I like the way that it has taken what the community has said and put it into more, I would say, actionable type items. I also like the fact that it helps us as a commission. It guides our decisions, and when Britt was talking, it helps us prioritize asks. When people come to us, to make sure that it's in line with our, plan, and it gives us goals. Would you guys envision this, like, of course, I would love to be help out wherever I can, but would you envision maybe like, everybody kind of thinking about what speaks to them, like what pillar might speak to them and where they might be able to add the most, or do you kind of see it as like we kind of like a recurring guiding principles as we sort of plan years and projects and things?
I mean, first of all, a little bit of both, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate goal from this is to draft a tangible plan that we can use to guide the Cultural Arts Commission, for the near future. Yeah, to guide us. It's basically what we're hoping to do is construct a vision, right?
Yeah.
As well as a path that we can follow to reach that vision. In terms of what that's literally going to look like within our community, within our Cultural Arts Commission, I mean, if somebody out there, you hear us say collaboration, you go, I'm passionate about collaboration between businesses and local artists, and I would like to step in and helping design that part of the plan. Yes, the answer is yes. Join us, do that. But then I think that you're completely right, Reese, in that as far as like the immediate application of this is we can start referring to like these pillars when people are coming to us saying, I really want to do this project and here's what I'm hoping to accomplish. Like we can frame our questions and our around these, like, how is this going to help the businesses in your area? Or how is this going to educate the people in your area? So a little bit of both.
Yeah, love it.
Really good plan, guys. Well written, good stuff in there. I think the mention of like a speaker series to kind of help the community of artists, especially kind of our local lists that we have, to understand what is out there, with grants and funding and just a collaboration with other artists. I think we had a really good event at the Black Cube a couple years ago, but since then there hasn't really been a huge event. We did our artist meet and greets, but a more structured event where we would invite someone to come in and talk to people and do kind of a Q&A might be a good idea, just to, just a free little thing. We would hope that someone would come and share their knowledge for free as well, but maybe there's something within our budget to include that. But I think that would be a really cool idea to kind of get people educated on, some people don't even know that they're qualified for like student loans. That's not related to this at all, but I just feel like there's a whole realm of people in the world that don't have any idea the resources that are available to them, and they're right there. So
I think that would be a good idea to tie that stuff in with those artist meet and greets.
Yeah, like and kind of
when we can
flip our direction a little bit more, you know, to
Good.
not just social, but informative, and how can we really support the artist community rather than just networking?
And we
That's
could
a
keep
great-
that
I mean,
social aspect, yeah.
Yeah. Like it could be this week, we're going to talk about like, how do you get approved for a liquor license for an event? And also it's an artist meet and greet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ba-doom.
Mhm.
I like your ideas, Clarice.
That came up last year, I remember.
It did, yes.
That would help draw more people in, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a lot of work to put that black cube thing together. It would be nice if we could do that much more often, but that was a lot of meetings.
Yeah, but I mean, even just like a informative thing in Hamden Hall, you know, something like that, or somewhere else. But yeah,
We're not going to be able to get to this till August at the earliest, though.
yes, but we still have to have a plan for whenever that happens, Mark.
All right.
Because you know it's going to take us till August to finalize this thing, anyways.
Oh yeah.
We're working at city speed, y'all. Like,
I'm just saying that's even August is an optimistic timeline at this point.
it's true.
Have
It's
more than
completely
50
true.
people.
Yeah, and you know, we could offer a Zoom speaker.
Yeah,
That's a thing. I mean,
if we look at branching out into a virtual setup, I think then there's a lot of value added opportunities then.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I know I'm dealing with a lot of other planning situations outside of this, and every time we get halfway down the list, we end up moving it back 6 months.
no, that is the reality of it for sure. I'm working with that as well. Julie has her hand up.
Yeah, Julie.
Hey, thank you. So I had a couple of ideas. First of all, I love the collaboration part of it, so I'd love to help out with that. So just put my name on there. But as you guys were talking, I had some ideas as far as like education, or maybe this falls under collaboration, whatever. I was wondering if there would be some way, I mean, I know you had those artist meet and greet, and you probably have an idea of who's in town already. But maybe we could do something that features local artists, like, I don't know, on a website, or have them come in and give a talk like somebody else mentioned, as a way of like highlighting who's already here and what sort of work they're doing. And then another idea that I had, I think I've mentioned this before, but I had read about other cities that were, you know, in the middle of the pandemic doing drive-by art shows instead of having open studios. Like, you know, people could put pieces outside and having a little map that, you know, people could follow and look at people's, you know, artists that are already in town, and you could go and see some of their stuff outside. So those were just two ideas that popped into my mind as you guys were talking.
I love it. I'm taking
Thanks.
notes.
Those
Thank
are
you.
good.
And I think, if I can, I think this, Leah Beth, I'll give you, you know, you were the one that kind of drove a little bit more of this format, I think, when talking to Clarice, in that I think you had mentioned, could we create from what we found a more broader plan that had broader themes that allowed us to react to suggestions like Julie just had. And so that's what we were trying to do. I don't know if we hit the mark with you guys or not, but part of that, I think, Leah Beth, you had mentioned that, you know, what if we had broader themes that then guided over years, these themes that, you know, would address issues year after year. And so that's really the theme part. I was stuck on that, and then Clarice figured it out and did all this, and that was the best part. But
No, I think that looks.
so that's kind of what, that was the intent of the larger picture.
I think it's a really good idea. And I think like you said, in years to come and commission to commission, because we won't be here forever, people will have kind of a little bit of guidance. I did want to mention to Clarice and David that I'm happy to help you guys and coordinate, cooperate, core anything you need.
Awesome. Anybody have anything else they want to add?
I think what we'll do is it sounds like we got Leah Beth, myself, Clarice, and Julie, and we'll continue to develop this broader. We just didn't want to keep going down this path of these broad themes if you all were like, no, we really need something that's more task oriented, boom, boom, boom. And so that's where we were trying to get the feedback before we went too deep into this rabbit hole of themes and how we might express them in a way that can guide long-term, like you said. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you, guys.
They're pillars, David, not
I'm sorry, pillars. I said it wrong.
They're what
pillars
hold
of
the
what?
roof of art up,
Gotcha.
David. They hold. I'm kidding. Sorry.
Well, thanks, guys. Director Underhill, you're next. Can you hear me?
As Leah Beth had mentioned, in the spirit of city speed, placemaking and wayfinding has gone before council and it's in progress, but it takes time to identify locations and so forth. So Debbie, if you don't mind, I'm going to share something really quick. I'll keep it as short as possible since we're close on time here. Let's see here. So here we go. Hopefully you can see that. So ultimately, I had staff. Sean Lewis, our city manager, reached out to my department and said, hey, is there a chance you guys can just, when you're driving around town, identify locations that might be good for placemaking throughout the city? And if you guys have any ideas, share them. So that's coming back to you guys too, from the Cultural Arts Commission. And he had mentioned this before to you about placemaking and where are spots around the city that we can. I hear a lot about the missile at Bellevue Park. A lot of people say, oh, there's Bellevue Park, there's the missile at it. Placemaking, that's a good example of it. Or the grass as you enter into Inglewood, right in the median. So whether it be an underpass, such as in the picture here, that could be some sort of placemaking area, the medians, open space, so be it. So that's just a few. Let me see if I can pull up this other one. So another one, the staff members took the project and said, well, I have some ideas for different areas that I've seen around town and some really cool artwork that I've loved. And so like the Malley parking lot wall, there's really nothing there. It'd be pretty cool to add something on there. You know, hopscotch on a city street somewhere where it's safe, or a sidewalk or wherever it may be. A large baseball glove, the mention was Centennial Park. It'd be really cool to have something like that. So these are just examples of placemaking that's been done, lighting projects that has occurred in other cities. So again, it's not going to happen overnight. This is definitely something that's going to take some time to identify the location, have that location vetted, and then and go from there for what can we add in to our city. So people know, hey, when you get to this, make a right turn and you'll be where you need to go. So this is just a reminder for you all that as you see cool art pieces or have ideas when you're driving around the city, make a note of it. You feel free to send it over to me. I'll kind of just keep a running list of ideas and areas, locations throughout Inglewood where placemaking might be able to occur. So again, these are just ideas. I love the piano and the fox that's painted like that. So again, it's just a reminder for you all to, if you'd like, you can definitely send me ideas that you have. We'll just have an ongoing list. And eventually, I am sure we'll bring back some ideas to you and you can go through the approval process if it is something that's going to happen. Again, it's not happening overnight. It's going to take some time. That's all.
Cool. Okay, we're going to try and power through, guys. How do we feel about that? I'm going to say good since I heard nothing.
Good. I feel good about it.
Yeah, good.
My head was nodding.
Okay. I don't think, Martin, we have much for restoration, but I wanted to put a placeholder there just in case because I think we're doing the bike. We're waiting on bike rack stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
I talked to Chris and got he sent over the color palette, but the city council's talking about that at the March meeting, so or one of the March meetings.
Is
so
it going to tie in with the new theme, basically?
Yeah,
okay.
And there are colors that are included within the palette that are close enough to what they are already. I don't think it'll be a problem. He didn't seem to think so either. So,
Cool.
So we're just waiting on that and waiting to do the bike racks.
Well, I know you wanted to talk about some of these new ideas that are kind of old ideas, but that are, I mean, I can't wait for the day we can start doing something social again.
I just wanted to plant the seeds again because I know how long it takes stuff to happen, so I just don't want to lose traction on it. just to remind people, we don't have to talk about the details of this, but just a reminder that we had talked at one point about doing a farmer's market, but that Grow and Gather was also going to, or had thought about doing that farmer's market, which I think is fine. If they're going to do it, then we should just support them in doing it, is my opinion.
Do we know where they were going to do it?
No, that all happened. We had just started talking about that when the pandemic hit, so I'm sure that idea dissolved. But
I know they don't have a parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's something that we should keep on the plate, because once this stuff starts opening up again, you know, it'll take us a while to get it all set up and figure out how to organize it anyway. So we could use this time now to kind of at least start making a plan.
Grow and Gather does have a small farmers market.
Oh, they do.
They did. They did last year. It was you know, COVID kind of figured out and all that, but yeah, so they've kind of already started that. But
okay, great.
But you're right.
It's one of the things I just wanted to see happen in Englewood, so I thought I'd bring it to us.
They have a lot of enthusiasm over that. So to your point, maybe we could help.
That's fine. And we had talked about at some point in time doing a mural festival here in Englewood, and all this stuff is happening with that arts plan of like having events here. And so one of the things I wanted to say just about doing an arts festival or a mural festival is I'm guessing that should probably be a separate organization from us, because it's going to take a lot of work to organize that. I don't think that's something we would do, because I'm guessing like the Cherry Creek Arts Festival, right? That's got to be an individual nonprofit thing. I'm guessing. I don't really know.
That's actually a for-profit organization.
It is for-profit, okay, yeah. but it's a separate organization from a community thing.
It is.
So all I wanted to say about that is, to me, I think we should think about doing something like that in the long term. But really, I think our role in that is to try to figure out how to set up that organization or find people who are interested in doing that. Does that make sense to everybody? Rather than us running an arts festival, I think one of the things we ought to try to do is see if we can find people who are interested in coming together to do that.
That's a great idea, Martin.
So,
Martin, if I can add to that, the chamber this summer did what we called the Murals and Mason Jars event, where we had people walk to all of our murals in town, and they found mason jars and they received prizes, and a lot of businesses. We're going to do that again next year with the idea of having a party on both ends, of a far south end and a far north end because it was we sold out of I think we had 70 people, and that was as big as we could get. So to your point, that somewhat, not exactly an arts festival, but is also happening as well.
Yeah, it sounds like people want to do that, and I don't think that's within our scope. That I think there should be an organization that concentrates on that, and I think that's one of the roles that we could do, is trying to network and put those kinds of organizations together or help them get started. So, yeah, cool. Those were things. I just didn't want to lose traction on that. And then finally, just real quickly, with the pop-up concerts. I'm cool booking all that again this summer. I think it'll probably be okay. I think they've kind of figured out how to do music safely in lots of different contexts. Hopefully things will relax a bit. And I don't know. I just wanted to get everybody's feedback. In the past, the places that have been most successful for these pop-up concerts have been at the City Hall and at the River Run Park. And pretty much all the other places have not been successful. So I kind of think that we should just concentrate those pop-up concerts in those two places. That they'll happen at random times, but they will be at those places.
Are there any other places that we could think of that might also be good that we haven't tried yet? Like other parks maybe, or?
Maybe. I mean, the big thing about
there.
that River Run Park is it's got the trail that goes through it.
Yeah.
So lots of people stop at the trail. There just aren't the other parks. Well, I guess I don't know about Bellevue. I don't know about down there. I guess there's a trail there. like we tried at the Paseo, that didn't work very
Yeah,
well.
that was a little off.
It's loud and not very many people going past. I mean, the businesses loved it, but nobody's coming to listen. So that was just kind of my thing. Is I thought I don't really have any other ideas of places we could do it, but I'm open to that. I just think that those are the two places that were most successful, and I thought we could just go back and forth between those because we got a lot of engagement in those places. So anyway.
Yeah, or doing it in tandem if a business is doing some sort of event, even like Grow Plus Gather or something.
Yeah.
Wants to kick something off at the start of the growing season.
Did you see Tony had a hand up? Tony, you did have your hand up.
I did. And sorry if I'm supposed to like wait until staff's choice or something, but I just wanted to say like love all of these things. And I love coming to these meetings because I get so excited. But I did want to add that I have been doing a lot of research and looking at a lot of different places that have are currently doing farmers markets and different kind of festivals with during COVID times, and learning what worked and what didn't, and how they've gone about it. And I've been in a lot of talks with CDPHE and Tri-County and their COVID recovery team, and talking about all of these things. So I think these are all amazingly awesome ideas, and I would love to like do them all next week. But I don't, I know we cannot, but I also think that we can do a lot of these before we're out of the dial. So if it's something that you guys are interested in doing and partnering with, I am all in on helping and doing what I can to help research or get answers or figuring out how we can do them safely. But I love the idea of the farmers market and art festival. And we even talked earlier today about maybe even like a sidewalk chalk festival type thing. So you guys have awesome ideas, and I can't wait to collaborate and work more with you on them. The pop-up concerts, and that's all stuff that we can do even during COVID. So let me know how I can help.
Tony, did you also, can you confirm, or do you know, it's my understanding that Arapahoe County is going to allow events, or is anticipating allowing events up to 500 people in the summer. Have you heard that?
Well, if you look at the dial, obviously as we dial into different colors, the lowest level before we're out of the dial is 750 max, is what's on the dial. But it also, you can write for variances. So like as long as they're within reason. So like say we're at green and max is 500, maybe we can write a variance for up to 1,000. And all we have to do is show how we can do the contact tracing, social distancing, all of the guidelines within that group. But you just can't be like 500 max and be like, oh, can I have 40,000 of my closest friends over to this park kind of thing. So, definitely something. And like I said, I have great contacts and would be happy to help with those variances and whatnot, and make it a city partnership too, so that maybe that with it being within the county too, that could help. I would like to think it would help, but yeah, so we're in orange, and then next is yellow, and then I can never remember if it's green or blue, but there again, it's going to depend on the vaccination numbers, and we have to stay within a certain positive test rate every week. So unfortunately, the dial can kind of go back and forth, but they definitely are wanting to let more things happen just safely. Does that help at all? Answer that question at all?
Yeah, I was just in a meeting where some people were suggesting that they had heard from some officials in Arapahoe County, and maybe it was the Tri-County Health, that they anticipated, because people are trying to figure out events, and they said that they thought that Arapahoe County was suggesting events around 500 to, maybe the 700, maybe that's where they got it, would be, which I suppose would exclude the block party necessarily. I mean, the old way block party, you could
Right.
refashion it, but that's what they were
Yeah.
trying to figure out, was some of these people wanted to do really large events.
Yeah,
And they
I
were
know
like, well,
that
if you
they,
could do a 5 to 7, you'd be okay. But
right, they are looking at being able to have 5-star events. Does that make sense? So I just heard about that today and haven't done any research on it. So I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to say anything because I don't know anything about it, but I do know that that was talked today of having 5-star events. And, even the block party, I'm thinking about, I'm constantly, Tri-County Health and CDPHE are very patient with me and reply to all my emails so far. But, I'm like, okay, could I do the block party if this and that and that and that, and so it is a lot of work, and you have to build diagrams and write it all out, and then they come back and counter it and kind of thing, but it's definitely doable. So I don't want anyone to get discouraged because I am willing to be all in and helping try to get these things pushed through.
Hey
Thank
guys,
you.
I'm sorry, I have to go to another meeting.
Sorry, Martin.
That's okay. See you later.
Likewise, I have to leave as well.
Yeah,
This
sorry.
is Julie.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat too. I've got a 7.
Oh my goodness, people.
Sorry about that. See you later.
That's
Bye.
okay.
I wanted to mention that I'm happy if rest of you support it. I'm happy to kind of start the conversation with Tony and maybe grow and gather and see if we can collaborate on farmers market / art festival. Just to kind of get the conversation started, if you guys think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, by the time it kind of comes to fruition, we'll be several more months into vaccine distribution. So it might be a good time to start testing the waters again. It would give us a little bit of time to get it together. So Tim.
Yeah, actually, I think Cheryl had her hand up for a while before
Cheryl,
me.
sorry.
Thank you, Tim. When would the intended, obviously you want to start a conversation to give yourselves, some runway since things take a while. When would your intended time frame be to actually have that event with Grow and Gather? Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, my personal intention would probably be like after Memorial Day, just for weather purposes.
Oh, so soon. Okay, just after. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, I was just going to say, years ago, the commission at the time had considered an arts festival coupled with a farmer's market. And at the time it was to be in the sort of roundabout area in front of the Civic Center.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to close down, part of Inglewood Parkway, like headed toward like past Nixon's Coffee up toward Walmart. So you would close that whole street and then the circle and maybe, more, but that would offer space like on the giant hardscape plaza outside the Civic Center for artist booths and farmers market booths and things like that. However, at the time, the commission just, couldn't handle the bandwidth of planning something like that and the funding element. But I just want to let you all know that that has been discussed in the past.
Thank you.
And it's a great idea.
Yeah, I personally don't think that the commission would be a large funding member of that thing. I would more want to bring people together to make it happen rather than actually funding the project, right, Reese? What do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes, I think so too. I think getting buy-in, especially depending on the space, I'd want as much buy-in as possible from everyone in the community, anybody who wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cost of something like that is to put on ourselves, but I suspect that it's probably pretty hefty, especially if it's a recurring event.
Yeah. Well, I'll reach out to Tony and we'll kind of start the conversations and see where it goes.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Swedish Horse Project, I'll keep this brief. The horses are at AMPA. Thank you, Mark, for fielding questions. We have a few qualified submissions. One gentleman thought he's from Texas, wanted to apply, which wasn't going to work so well. But so yeah, we're still kind of just powering through. And I have an email plan to our artist list right after, probably tomorrow or the next day. So we'll engage them. I wanted to wait to this meeting and see if there was anything else I wanted to include in that email. So I think that's, that project is full steam ahead. Upcoming events, I don't think we have any at this point. Let's move on to staff's choice. Christina, do you want to start if you have anything left?
I don't have anything left. Thank you all.
Okay, great. Tim, anything on your end?
Yeah, if I can unmute myself. I was just gonna speak toward a new initiative we're working on. It kind of aligns with what David was talking about in terms of the accessibility pillar. So with COVID happening, traffic at the museum has been way down, and it's very spotty. I mean, it's just people aren't going out, understandably so. And so we're kind of pivoting to the times, and rather than doing a big exhibition next, what we're going to do is convert some of our smaller gallery spaces into artist workspaces. And so we'll be expanding our artist in residence program, and we'll be offering, I think, about 4 different residencies. And the application will be going out sometime this month once we get all our details together. But I'll share that certainly with all of you. So if you know people in the community who are looking for workspace, basically we would be providing the space for free, and we would also give them a $500 material stipend and an exhibition opportunity. So that's kind of what we're working on. Obviously, everything's fluid right now still, so we're just kind of trying to do what we can at this moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it'd be nice if we could incorporate some of these opportunities. Not on, I mean, obviously you're promoting them, but even on our site, just as a kind of a one-stop shop for anybody who's looking for any type of, opportunity, that it's posted in a variety of locations, and it's cohesive, and we kind of come together on that. Thank you. Cheryl, anything on your end?
No report from me tonight. Thank you.
And Tony?
No, I just already kind of said what I had to say, so let me know how I can help.
All right, not much more on my end. So I think we've gone long enough, but I wanted to give, David, anything else from you? Nope. Leah Beth?
Nope. Thank you.
Grace?
Nope, nothing.
Oh, Mark, I'm sorry I skipped you earlier. Mark Mullis.
He's just
The computer
over it.
wouldn't cooperate. I'm like
In the corner.
hitting the button. No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Did I leave anybody out? I tend to do that. Nope. All right, well, shall we call it? This is a very content-rich meeting, so thanks everybody for sticking through it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reese.
Yep, have a good week.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.